It's nice to meet someone aligned and integrated and clear and committed, because as we know, sometimes life throws us stuff. And then those things are, how are we gonna interpret? Because obviously that's a massive that's a skill.
A battle in of itself. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And usually going on between the ears, mostly, if not all. How are we going to respond to the many things? Speaking of how to respond, I'm curious as to what that naval background was like for you in the special operations, and then I want to get into, how you ended up on the waves of water. I'd love to hear, because I've met several people who have been operations military and then become very successful in the business world with certain skill sets. So I'm curious how that transition and what was those moments where just kind of like, what am I here to do? Because I can imagine finding your bearings in the civilian world can be a little interesting.
Yeah, it was an interesting transition. Yeah, thanks, Darren. It's just awesome to speak to you as well, and love your work. So thanks for spearheading and having such great sort of vision for just a better future and better world. So just thanks to you for all of that. But yeah, my path has been it's been an interesting journey, and like probably most people's, It's never been a straight line. It's always sort of been a shift from side to side, probably much like water moves. And I have flowed with it over the years, if you will, and it's just been an incredible ride. But going back to the question with regard to my Navy days and specifically into special operations, um, I found myself at the Naval Academy, and I think that's probably the best way to describe my journey to that place. My experiences as a youth and the things I was involved in sort of led me there, and really, quite frankly, a guidance counselor who I just give a lot of credit to, just one of those people in your life who just said, "Hey, look over here," and I did, and it just became the path that I took. And so we need those mentors in our life, and I certainly have had those folks for sure. Um, but I was always a team sports person. I grew up playing team sports, love teams, love that whole environment of being connected with a group of people trying to accomplish something. And I grew up playing soccer, played soccer at Navy, and that was just my environment. That's the thing I thrived in. So when it came time to look at where I was going to go inside my naval career, special operations with that team environment, for me, it was the no-brainer. I mean, it was even less about the mission at that point in time and more about the environment of doing something special with a group of people who were fully focused and fully committed to doing that. And that inspires me. I just love that environment, and that call, sort of. I know it sounds like a cliche, but the one greater than ourselves in a way. And that community really piqued my interest. So yeah, I went after it, and I became a naval special operations officer. Traveled the world, as you can imagine, post 9/11, doing a lot of interesting things. Spent most of my time in the Middle East and East Africa, and worked with some tremendous people. And that's what I always came back to was, just what's the mission? Who are we working with, and trying to bring alignment to what we needed to accomplish. And some of those situations are pretty difficult, as you can imagine, and some of those situations are a lot of fun too. So yeah, that was the genesis of my professional career, if you will. So that really shaped me in so many ways, and the way I think about things, and the way I approach things. I can certainly draw a straight line in that regard directly back to my special operations experiences and career, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things I'd love to ask you about all of that.
Sure.
But certainly, uh, that mission focus, right? It's almost like, and it may be the simplest thing, but I just had an aha moment right now. It's like in this world, especially, I would even imagine, especially now, um, there's kind of this, I'm hurt, I'm broken, I'm whatever. Change what you're doing so I feel better. There's a bunch of that going on in a variety of
Sure.
different ways, right? And
Mhm.
so, um, and largely, I don't know about you. I don't think it works that way.
Mhm.
Um, People need to be moral and move, but also take responsibility
Mhm.
for, if I say something to you, how you react to it is largely whatever you have going on inside of you. You'll be offended or you'll laugh it off, whatever it is. But I don't mean to go down that path. But
Mhm.
the point that I'm trying to make is the epiphany I just had when you're talking is that it was it was the beyond yourself,
Mhm.
right? It was that first training in, I'm doing something that is greater than myself. And that has to be phenomenal, especially as a young person,
Mhm.
and going, because god damn, we're teenagers, and like, the world surrounds,
Mhm.
revolves around us, all of that stuff. But then all of a sudden you're trained to be like, this isn't about you, dude, but you got to
That's
do
right.
what you do fucking perfectly. And because then the unit is infinitely greater than, and our mission is infinitely
Yeah.
greater than your being uncomfortable, right?
Right.
So talk to
Mhm.
me a little bit about that. What was that like,
Yeah.
and how did that express itself
Mhm.
for you?
Formidable. Very. It was very formidable in the realization of that. I mean, one of the first Latin terms I ever learned was when I was in college, was non sibi sed patriae, which is not for self but for country, and that's where it starts, in that environment, right? Especially in the
Mm,
military environment per se, but that's the mindset that you adopt almost immediately, and it's not you, it's the one to the left and the one to the right, and that's why we're in the line together.
mhm,
And then it's got to mature past that, though. It's not, it can't stay just in this cliche logo thing. It's got to practically roll out. And that's, I think, what, the Naval Academy is really great at educating and getting baseline experiences. But when you go into combat per se, and you go into real life and you start understanding, oh, this matters because people's lives depend upon this, it just elevates it to a level you can hardly imagine, right? It's like, it's not just a cliche anymore. It's not a poster on the wall. It's like, this is life dependent, and that's different. And it really manifests this idea, Darren, of that I really carry with me today, which is interdependence, which I want to go back to one of the points you made, which I thought was really good and important. But, if we think about dependence, that means like, I'm depending on you, and I need you to feed me. I need you to do something for me. I need you to fix me. I need something there. And there are micro times when we need to depend upon others to get through situations. I'm not discounting that. And that's important. But I don't think that's sustainable over the long term. It's not a healthy mindset for anybody. And then you have the other side of that, which is independence, which is totally, I'm doing it myself. I'm going alone. And it goes back to there's an old proverb, the proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And that latter part of that proverb is like where interdependence comes in, which is, I need you to do everything you can on your side, and you need me to do everything I can on my side. And we're responsible for ourselves, but we're responsible to each other. And that's a different mindset, and I don't think is very common in the world we live in, and it's not, unfortunately so. I think there is too much independence, and I think sometimes there's too much dependence. But if we really approach team, if we really approach mission, and the things we want to accomplish together from a concept of interdependence, which is we all need each other, and we're not going to be perfect at it, but we all need to bring our best to the table. We can go far together. And I think like that experience in the military, in combat, in some of those situations, and you learn that firsthand, it just never leaves you, because it can't. It just leaves such an impression upon your being, that's what I try to carry forward in my work today. Um, and I think it serves me well. I mess it up sometimes, I'm sure, but it's been something that's guided me in the way that I develop teams over the years.
Out of curiosity, how long were you in the military?
Almost a decade post my naval
Wow.
academy career. So I did about 10 years of active duty service. Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
officially, thank you.
Oh, my
I want to say,
pleasure, man. I,
I want to say
I
say
gained a lot
that.
from. Thank you.
I have a soft spot for people in the Navy. I've brought this up several times because the guy, my father, keeps giving me gifts long after he's passed away. And
Mm,
he talk about greater than yourself. He was in the one of the blockades in the on the aircraft carrier. He
mm,
was one of the keepers of the dragon of the atomic bomb. So it was a mo he never talked about until that crazy Kevin Costner movie came out, talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis, and
yeah.
it was the
Yeah.
first time I had no clue,
Yeah.
no idea, and he brought all
Mm,
this up. He got so emotional, and they thought the whole world it was going to be erased,
gonna
right?
be over.
Um, and
Scary
and
time.
funny, and I'll just cap it here, but my father, he's endocrine system was messed up. His thyroid was gone. He's playing around with atomic bombs. It's just not going to
Mm,
go well. So he sacrificed so much.
mm,
And then those quote unquote small things are so massive that we don't even realize all of the service men and women that have done things that I mean, probably 99.9% of the things that you've done, no one's ever seen, heard, or know about, right? And it's like,
for good reason. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Even my wife. Yeah.
gosh. Does that,
Yeah.
I mean, again, we could talk a lot about this, but
Sure.
does that, do you have healthy ways to find your own footing and find your
Yeah.
own mental balance with all of that?
I mean, that's a great question, and I do. I'm very fortunate that way. Actually, things affect people different ways, and that's something that people can't control. And but I've been very fortunate. I feel very blessed and lucky for the experiences that I've had. I've only had sort of positive response to that. Um, so it's been a place that, like I said, I'm just grateful for, and an experience that I'm grateful for. And I think like what's been most fortunate for me, um, and I won't claim any credit for it. Like I've said, I sort of flow with things as they go. But I've always found the place to put the next mission in front of me, and like the next cause that does allow me to feel like I'm a part of something that's greater than myself. And I think that has served me well to continue to move forward in a really, really healthy way over the years.
Yeah, well, certainly, you've got a hell of a founder
Yeah,
for Mananalu, and
for sure.
hearing the rumblings of how Jason came off for people, and then actually meeting him
Mm,
was a breath of fresh air,
mm,
and certainly, meeting him on that passion place of commitment to doing things greater than ourselves. So,
mm.
so the Mananalu project, there's all these cool little kind of
Yeah.
avenues I want to go down with the company and what its purpose is. And because on the one hand, it's a bottled water company. On the other
Hmm.
hand, there's some deeper missions behind it, and there's some bigger swings behind it, and there's better initiatives. But before we get all of that to that,
Hmm.
there's a cool, and I looked into the Ball Corporation a bit, like, because I'm like, listen, I've traveled around the world looking
Hmm.
under the lid of herbs and plants and superfoods and all that stuff, and found my own horror of what people are selling in the world.
Hmm.
And then it's certainly greenwashing and environmental shit. People just like, but I didn't know anything about, mostly a B2B company, I would imagine. And so talk to me about that, and then specifically around, well, there's again, so much. Talk to me about the Ball Company and the aluminum
Yeah.
manufacturing, the circularity side of it, the commitment there. And
Yeah.
that,
I
and for
mean,
everyone listening, they are the producer of Mananalu's aluminum
mhm,
bottle, which is not
that's right.
plastic, right?
That's right.
And it's the
Hmm.
most recyclable element on the planet, right?
Hmm.
So therein lies a big difference. So I just want to set that up so people are like, what the hell is a Ball Corporation, right?
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of us know it, based on the mason jars, right? I mean, they're
Oh, right.
the label on the
That's right.
glass. Like they've been
That's
around
right.
for 100
Oh my
plus
God,
years.
I didn't even
Yeah,
put that
it's the same
together.
company.
Wow.
It is.
Wow.
Now, there's confusion because they don't own the glass part of that anymore. I think they've sold it decades ago,
Oh,
but
I
that
see.
was the same Ball Corporation who made a pivot from the glass to aluminum. And it's an extraordinary company. They actually have, and you probably don't know this, but many people wouldn't, they have an aerospace division. They make satellites.
Oh,
So like they have this aluminum can bottle company, they have this satellite thing. They came from the glass mason jar. It's like, as I got to know the company over the time that I've worked with Jason and the group here, I love it. It's an extraordinary company. But I think, going back to Jason, he was an unbelievable human being, as you know, and you've learned, unbelievably inspirational in what he wants to accomplish in the world, and that's where it came from. I think he was looking for, and he could tell the story better than I, of course, but looking for the right partner to start this movement with. And I don't even say it's a bottled water company. I think we would frame it as a movement. And so
yeah.
the Ball Corporation and Jason got together, and they looked at the issues of the world. And Jason's passionate about single-use plastic, especially the health of the oceans, as single-use plastic certainly hurts the health of the oceans. And said, I want to do something about that. And Ball said, we can help you do something about that. And to your point, yeah, aluminum is infinitely recyclable, but in and of itself, and it's inherent to the material. So we can recycle it over and over and over again. And typically speaking, when we put an aluminum bottle like the one I have in front of me, this Mananalu bottle, in the aluminum bin, within 60 days it's back on the shelf. And there's some reasons for that. Is like we as human beings, just the population, we consume obviously a lot of aluminum. So companies like Ball and others, they need aluminum. So there's a high demand for buying recycled aluminum, of course. So therein lies the system that closes the loop. So the companies like Ball and their competitors, if you will, are buying up as much of that stuff as they possibly can because it's readily available. They don't have to mine it from somewhere. And that's the most sustainable way to continue to use that product and package. So I think with Jason's vision for what he wanted to accomplish and what Ball is capable of, and Ball has the highest rated amount of aluminum in the bottle and can than as anybody, it became the right partner because, again, not anything, one thing is perfect. And Jason would tell you that, and Ball would tell you that, we would all say that. But when you're looking for best of class, when you're looking for best effort and the best we can possibly do with aspirations to improve those metrics, improve, the substrates, improve these things, Ball's the right partner. I mean, they've been a phenomenal partner and always looking to make it better. And yeah, I think it's been an incredible ride for all of us to be sort of putting this thing together and have launched the company over the last few years.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like on the one hand, I go, shit, we shouldn't be sending water anywhere
True.
in
Yeah.
bottles. But the truth is that we have to have something, right? We have to
Yeah.
have somebody. We those, for everyone listening, it's like that super super soft plastic is like the worst ever, right?
Yeah.
So the phthalates, people think about this. So the more soft the plastic is, the more it's leaching into your water. So those are phthalates. Those are endocrine disruptors. That's neutering you. This isn't me saying this. This is in the data. So getting out of plastic from a personal undercutting your health, super important.
Hmm.
And then, of course, if we're putting water in a bottle, which we need some sort of answer. We don't have although France has fresh water coming out of taps all over the freaking city, so we can model that in the cities. But you're jumping on planes, you're jumping on all that stuff. Why? I love that story that Jason had, in the sense that he was seeing all the single-use plastic, and then he was like, whoa, well, a soda, a beer, that comes in aluminum.
Right.
Why the hell wouldn't we put, right?
Water.
Yeah, exactly.
Just makes
So,
sense. We've
and
been
and the
trained to
yeah,
sorry to interrupt you, Dan. We've been trained to
yeah, yeah,
drink it out of plastic over the years because that's what's been available. And to your point, we're just so highly mobile anymore, right? That we need to be able to grab something, and it's part of our culture. And but to the point, we're advocates, we're evangelists for refill whatever you have first before you go and use something that's disposable again, right? And if you have to use something that's disposable, make sure it's recyclable. And if it's recyclable, make sure you get it in the recycling bin. So
right.
there's a chain reaction that sort of has to happen. But that's why we the bottle I'm holding as a screw top, because we want even people to try to reuse the materials that we sell them as much as possible.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, because if you look at the whole recycling, I'm going to call it delusion, because
Mm,
most of recycling we don't have a system for. The plastic we certainly don't. Um, and overall, we fail at recycling, even though we have, we separate it at home. And most of the stuff people are putting in these bins, you can't break it down anyway, because there's layering, there's the different PET hardnesses. No one knows that. So they're thinking they're recycling. They're not. At best, we got 8 to 9% of all of our crap recycled. But to your point, aluminum, I think globally it's like 75% already.
75%. Yeah,
Yeah,
and a large majority of aluminum that's ever been mined, I think it's in the 70s. I don't want to be quoted on it, but it's something
yeah,
like that. Ever mined is still in circulation.
right.
So it's a really it's an astounding thing to think about. They've been mining aluminum for decades, more than 100 years plus, and much of that is still in circulation because it doesn't really lose its physical properties when it's recycled. That's why it's such an incredible substrate for us. And yeah, again, I think nothing's perfect, but when Jason was looking to start this movement, this became the right choice, and Ball the right partner. And so we're moving in the right direction, no doubt. And to your point, yeah, there's a lot of effort. We need to get better at recycling infrastructure. We need to get better at all of these things, because no one thing is a silver bullet, but we want to be a part of that solution to the point that the place where we can. But there's so many areas that need to improve, um, for us to help save this planet from where it's kind of going.
And the thing I think about, and certainly from a military perspective, it's like we have system failures. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, aluminum's better. We've got 75% maybe. I think Brazil is like super efficient, right?
Hmm.
So they're
Yeah.
they're got a better program. Also, Brazil, by the way, is like approaching 90% of their fuel needs by growing sorghum, cane, all of that. People don't even know about that.
It's awesome.
2000, in year 2000, it's like,
Hmm.
holy shit, we could do that,
Right.
right? That's a whole
Yeah.
other conversation that I'm not even going to get fired up about. But we actually, and it's part of the reason I talked to Jason the last couple of days, we have some partners that we've done the calculations on how to create clean fuel sources and
Mhm.
ethanol from waste and everything else. But again, I'm starting to get off on this subject. But the point is that there is obviously the old guards that don't want shit to change,
Mhm.
old systems, but largely these systems, and I've been looking at these damn systems. I've been writing a whole book, and I've been looking at these systems, and I'm like, holy shit, man, we're just failing across the board,
Mhm.
and it's going to take some disruption to
Mhm.
get this back. I mean, so you think about aluminum, just by the Actually, before we get into anything else, I want to hear about what is that program you have? Like
Oh
one
yeah,
can used,
drink
one
one,
bottle.
drink one, remove one. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think
that's
this
cool.
got
How is that put into
yeah.
place?
Yeah. So as we looked at our sustainability message, reality is even though that our bottles and cans are aluminum, we can't take away all the plastic in our supply chain. Like they still wrap the pallets and they do the things. Like there's still stuff like inherent to your point about systems, right? Stuff inherent to the systems you can't sort of get away from as you lean on partners and manufacturers around the country like we do to continue to help produce and distribute and so forth. And we weren't okay with that. And Jason wasn't okay with that. And so we wanted to come up with a way to offset any amount of plastic that we use. So we are a certified plastic negative company, meaning more plastic is removed from ocean going waste than we introduce to the environment at all. And so we found a network of nonprofit partners that we contribute to remove plastic from ocean going waste around the world for every bottle of Mananalu produced and drank. So it's the Drink One, Remove One platform that we're spearheading. Um, Millions of bottles have been removed from ocean. And if you just think about that as a number, it's not, your eyes can roll when you say millions of bottles, but really think about that. That's like millions of plastic bottles that are no longer entering the ocean, just done by amazingly dedicated people. We have a partner I should mention, Repurpose Global, who's just one of the leaders in this space, and they do an amazing job of removing and sorting plastic and repurposing that plastic for the benefit, whether it be in construction materials or recycled materials or what have you. They actually take it to actually reuse it. That's the whole point of the repurpose piece. So, that's the platform that we've built, and we're fully committed to. It's just it's not enough just to say choose something different. We felt like we needed to go the extra mile and take action. And this is all inspired by Jason, who's his example of taking action by starting a company because he cares so much about this. We're following that lead, and I think that the spirit of the organization is really about improvement, not just status quo, but actually making things better in the future. And it's been fun to see the impact of that.
And when did you guys start?
So yeah, we really started operating a little bit over 2 years ago. That's when I came on the company, right through the COVID season. I think it was ramping up and starting to take shape, and then COVID happened, and everything sort of took a step back. So I joined the company in the summer of 2020, exactly 2 years ago, and that was the beginning of our operations and productions. So it's been a great ride, short ride so far. We feel like we're still just getting started, and we have a lot to do, but yeah, it's been exciting so far.
I think that's a normal space to be in when you see the magnitude of the world and
Mm,
of these failed systems and of you know just the way people are operating and also the apathy the
mm,
apathy of like you said it, like we expect to drink water out of a water bottle. We want to look into it and see it, and
mm,
and we don't really realize the full impact
mm,
of that bottle in our bodies and in the planet.
mm,
And then going back to your thing, like, yeah, it's almost impossible to realize how much plastic is in our environment. It's almost
mm,
impossible. You can't even, over 9 billion metric tons, 500 million metric tons every year. Like
mm,
you can't even, and think how light plastic is. You know how much space that is. And then when I think about, one little piece of plastic being consumed by a sea turtle or a bird, or and it's like, yeah, man, every little thing matters. And so when you
mm,
say, hey, we've helped clean up millions of bottles and everything, yeah, man, well, that's million less things that animals aren't going to ingest and be impacted. So of course but then, Jason and I are connected to other companies. We're doing like stuff with Footprint, and the Footprint's doing,
Yeah.
single use alternatives. And so you see it on a big scale, right? So you're
Yeah.
starting to go, okay, there's some big players starting to, I think 9 of the top 10 CPG companies on the planet, Walmart, McDonald's, Pepsi, ConAgra, all these guys are signing on
Oh
to
yeah.
then start ending all of this stuff. I don't think we've come up with a water bottle until this that is
Yeah.
truly like a better choice than all
Hmm.
of that stuff. So, and plus I think in the not so distant future, I think you and I will be having other conversations, because I was telling, Jason and the team about some uh call it very efficient plastic gobbling technology that can break it down to be used in a clean way. So that stuff's very real, right? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
some incredible technology. So number one, we have to stop the use. Number two, we have to use materials that are circular. And let's
Hmm.
talk about circularity a little bit too, because I think
Yeah.
that's important for people to understand. And then number three, we got to get rid of the waste that's just sitting here and trying to break down in 800 to 1,000 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
got some. But I also want to just say, let's bring back the mason jar. Like, come on, like the ball. I love the
I
mason
know,
jar.
man. It was great. It was great. I think they're still around. I think just somebody else might own them, but that was an awesome product for sure. But I think, to your point that you made about those companies, and I will tell you, Darren, like when I first came into this company, I used to do work in humanitarian efforts in the global water crisis, and I used for
Mm,
6 years. I led an organization that did that around the world. And I'll parallel these two paths for a second. But first 2 years of that job, I was the CEO of this nonprofit. Then we did wells and rainwater harvesting and all kinds of filtration, all kinds of water systems around the world. And I went around the world and for 2 years, and I had to learn the global water crisis in order to feel like I could affect change in it in some ways. So you had to smell it, you had to feel it, you had to meet the people, and so forth. Um, and it was a bit depressing, quite frankly, because it was like, oh my gosh, this problem is so massive. And I could think about that with regard to the plastic and single-use plastic problem in the ocean and all these other things. But one thing that experience taught me was I was in Haiti, and we're doing a water project in Haiti, and there was a kid who was sick, and his story I lean on a lot. Um, he was very small, and I learned he was 6 years old, but he was much smaller than an average 6 year old, as you and I would know him, I guess. And the reason was he had diarrhea every day of his life since he was born. And it just flushed out all the nutrients. He just couldn't sort of get what he needed to grow. But the filter that he was being handed that day would solve that problem inside of 30 days. It was not a monumental solution. It just was this one thing would take the bacteria out of his water as he took it out of the stream. And I learned very quickly, like, we can't solve this problem all in one fell swoop, but you can do it for that kid, and then the next one, the next one, the next one. You just got to keep going. And I parallel that to the position I'm in now, because you can easily be overwhelmed, but it's literally like choosing differently every single day. And the one thing that I've found really interesting, I've been here now 2 years working in this space. And when I first came on, it was a bit daunting because I'd have conversations with, say, grocery stores and others, and they'd be like, "Hey, what's the price difference between the plastic bottle I'm used to buying and the thing you?" Well, I'm like, "Well, this costs more. It's more sustainable." And so it's not the same thing. But you're not buying this product, you're buying sustainability. And so having that conversation and getting them to shift how they think about that is a big thing. Um, so what's changed, though, what gives me great hope is the point that you made about these companies. I see, and now I'm in the industry, there are companies making significant steps in trying to do this. And not because, it will, I believe, be commercially viable for these companies But because people like us, the consumers, are making better choices, like getting educated. Your show does an amazing job of educating its audience. Like we're being educated, we're making different choices, so therefore it is a more commercially viable sort of path for these companies. But I will tell you, in the last 2 years, the conversations I've had with those same buyers that I was talking about, price comparisons against plastic even a few years ago, are totally different. The question is like how we're looking at sustainability options, like how does yours fit into this? And that's a different conversation. And it really does give me hope, man. It is, we got a long way to go, no doubt, but it's pretty awesome. And it takes people like Jason too to scream it from the mountaintops. And he has a lot of influence and spread the word that we can make better choices, and we will. I'm
Yeah,
confident in that.
yeah, me too. It's what else are we gonna do? I
What
mean,
else are we gonna do?
I mean,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
I mean,
Just let
we
it go
gotta,
to shit.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we gotta,
yeah.
like, it'd be like, hey, you're here in life, flying through this freaking universe. This is your mission.
This
You're
is it.
alive. The hell
Yeah,
are you
do it.
gonna do with it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly
So
right.
we gotta swing for the fences. And the thing is,
No
I
doubt.
think the momentum, like you said, it really good to hear that because
Hmm.
I've been in and out of the water game for a long time. I
Hmm.
also, spent years in West Africa,
Hmm.
India, getting clean water to people, and it's like,
You've seen it.
and yeah, it's like like it's in your DNA now, and it's you throw a dart at the map, and they have a water issue,
Yeah.
so it
Including the United
is
States.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
I could peel that open in a lot of different ways. You
Sure.
know, convenience of water showing up to your tap, inconvenience that it's full of things that you don't want to consume, right?
Hmm.
So it's like, yeah, we have a convenience that it's here, and also they're playing Russian roulette with the diarrhea. I mean, I don't know what the stat is lately, but I think 1,000 children die every day of
Every day.
waterborne disease, just like you're saying. You're seeing them
Hmm.
walking around with their jerry cans. The astonishing thing that blew my mind when we provided some filtered water, and I drank the first one, by the way. I would always drink it
Hmm.
after we filtered it.
Hmm.
Um, they never saw clean water.
That's
They
right.
lived their life and never even saw what water was
Hmm.
supposed to look like.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's
holy shit,
It
right?
looks like the river. It looks like mud. I mean, yeah. I mean, been many places around the world and been blown away by what people will walk 5 miles to go get every day.
Yeah,
And what they
yeah,
bring home is just like, it's not even water. And that changes you, man. When you see like you walk 5 miles to get that because that's what you're surviving on, and not well anyhow. It changes the way you see the world and what you want to apply your time to. And to your point, like, okay, now I'm in. Like, so we just
yeah.
got to figure out what we can do. Yeah.
Well, that's where, David, I get a little, I'm beyond it, but I'm just saying, I get pissed off
Hmm.
about stuff like that, because it's like, listen, man, there's billions of people like that kid that you've met, the kids I've met, like billions,
Hmm.
and we have failed as the human family, like utterly failed. It's 2022.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
How is it that we can be in this world and people don't have access to good food, they don't have access to clean
Clean
water?
water. Yeah.
I mean, hell, the freaking reservations throughout the country. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
just
a
you don't even
travesty.
have. It's
Yeah. And
you
you
know
should be
it.
pissed off. We all
Yeah,
should be pissed off, right? And man, if we just sit in the anger, though, it doesn't do anybody any good. But like, we all just got to take that step, and that's where I just go back to like, the one in front of you, the one decision, the one person, the one thing. Take care of that. Do the best you can with that, and then move on to the next one. And that's what we do at Mananalu. That's what the team is focused on, and I think that's what every human being can do. And if we all did that, like we say it around the office, we don't need a million people doing sustainability perfectly. We need tens of millions of people doing it imperfectly and trying to do the best they possibly can. That will force the change, right? And then we'll see benefit. And I do like I'm an optimist, so I go back to I think the change is coming. I think it's slow, too slow for me, of course, probably too slow for you. Too many people still suffering, too many environmental issues still running rampant. But I see it in the even the business markets I'm in. I really think it's a real thing, and I'm excited for where we can go with this. I really am. It inspires me every day to show up to work.
I, I'm like you, and that's where I think um, the getting to meet really great people in some of those really big companies that it's
Yeah.
easy to demonize, easy to see it's your fault, but there's some great people in those companies that have been slinging for a long time trying to get
Yeah.
this to move. And now I think there is pressure, and it is. So everyone listening here, your awareness, maybe you took away something from listening, your awareness is now up leveled, and now
Mm-hmm.
you're up level. You share it with your friends, you share it. And so now the population, which is still the most powerful entity ever, it's not a corporation, it's not a media outlet, it is the
People.
billions of people. That's it. That's the power. The numbers, the numbers, the numbers. We have the numbers, we always have, and we always will have the numbers.
Love
so
that.
so it's like, while we educate, we educate. It's common sense. What makes sense? Like, okay, now I know something about plastic. Oh shit, I didn't know that it was neutering me while I was drinking it. Okay, cool. Now I'll spend a little extra. I'll also get a canteen that I can carry around with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just start making those changes. And then with that, in the positions of like myself and Jason, you start poking enough, you start getting like big companies. They're like, oh shit, I didn't know they were doing that. And then they're doing that, and Footprint's doing that. And then
That's
people
right.
within it, and then Ball is like, I didn't know they were that
Mm-hmm.
cool in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
circularity, and really
Yeah.
focused on restoring their bottles, increasing the recycling, and
Mm-hmm.
just understanding supply chain, improving supply chains, like all of those things. Then we know that this movement's happening. We know it. And then the more people that say this is what we want, the more those corporations will have to make that choice. They have to.
It's the power of the people, man. You're absolutely right. Like every person votes with their pocketbook. We've heard that. It's true. Like it's what choices are you making? And I think it goes like corporations are starting to ask themselves, like it should be, or they're being challenged. If you want to be relevant in 5 years, not maybe existent, but relevant, you need to be thinking about these things. If you're not going to be relevant. I just think that the mindset of the consumer is changing. You might be consequential, maybe in a negative way or a different way, and you might be around. But if you want to be relevant to human beings and relevant to where we're going, these are the subjects you need to be addressing. And I think companies are absolutely balls way out in front of this, and others are way out in front. They're making these changes because they know they got to maintain relevance to survive in the coming economies. And there's a lot of things we could unpack there, but I think the movement has happened, and it's growing, and it's great to be a part of it.
Yeah, and again, that's what we have to do, and that's the common sense of it all. It's like,
Hmm.
we have to give up. I call it the kind of the god that people have sworn to, unfortunately, and that is they made power and profits over the common sense of us as humans, and of insects, and of birds, and of the planet. It's like, let's just get back and let's push back on these freaking people. Like, I am like, I don't know how I'm not cracking, like, from my own mental state, because I'm
I know.
staring at all of these things. I've been deeply researching a lot of, from personal care stuff to
Yeah.
food systems to everything else, and I'm
Mm,
just like, maybe I'll edit this shit out, but some of it I'm like, David, I'm looking at it going, the only conclusion I can come up with is definitely we care. I'm saying we, as in allowing this to happen, we care
mm,
about profits over humanity, you, over the health of us. Because I'm staring at this stuff. We are neutering us as a society almost in every aspect of me looking at this stuff. We are pumping ourselves full of untested, like, what's the stat? I think it's 60 to 80,000 chemicals are created every year, right? And there's
mm,
blown in our atmosphere, whether they're in the water, the air, the food.
mm,
Of that, 10% is actually tested. And of that, none of those are actually intertested. We
mm,
don't have no idea about the accumulation and the accumulative effect of all of these things. We are
right.
just in this petri dish of experimentation that has no clue, or actually maybe has a clue, because I'm looking at this stuff. Oh, they knew that, they knew that, they knew that. Like, what the hell are we doing? It is,
Mm,
I don't think it is only us that, as a human awareness, that we have to up level, right? We have to up level so that we can go, hey, hey man, like, no more.
no more. I love that term, up level, man. We're gonna use that going forward. That's cool. I mean, that's what we
That's
need to do. Everybody needs
Yeah,
to up level, and if we do, we got a chance. And
yeah,
I'll take it. I'll absolutely
yeah. I
take it.
mean, yeah. I mean, it's like,
What else are we
up
gonna
level.
do? Like you said, what else are we gonna do?
Exactly. So what's your goal? I mean, what's
Hmm,
your you could be personal, it could be the company, like,
hmm.
what would you like to see happen in the next? I mean, again, you can answer it however, whatever the instinct tells you, but what would you like to see happen in 5 years?
Yeah, from when I start, I'll start with the corporate professional goal as I see it, and I think this aligns with what Jason set out to do. But I've taken on as my personal goal is like to grow a company of relevance, like we're talking about, right? And I believe Mananalu is very relevant, and I think Mananalu is going to continue to be increasingly relevant, and in a way force the overall beverage industry to reckon with this in a way. And that's, will it be a Mananalu in everybody's hand? Yeah, I would love to see that. But it's really about forcing the larger industry to reckon with this. And that will come with the growth of Mananalu and our relevance and Jason's messaging and the things and the drink one, remove one campaigns. As that stuff continues to grow and have effect on people and the environment, people will be forced to reckon with it. And I think we're starting to see that, and that's exciting. So, from a corporate goal, I want it to matter, right? I want the company to your point. There's companies that are straight up about profits, and there's companies that have other things, but I want this one to matter. We're a mission driven company, first and foremost. It's a mission driven team. We follow Jason's lead there. We want it to matter in the end. So that would be my professional goal, if you will. And then personally, I've always just wanted to be a part of something bigger myself, and this aligns so well for me. When I was asked to take a look at this and got a chance to meet Jason a few years ago, I had to reconcile those professional and personal goals, and this one just married up so well. And I've been a water guy my whole life, surfer, ocean since I was a kid, and just could be more grateful to be in the position I'm in and helping what I believe is a positive change to the environments I love. So here we are.
I love that. I love that. I mean, water has been a fascination of mine for so long.
Mhm.
I've been in days and days of scientists dedicated to understanding the miracle of water, the
Mm,
quantum mechanics of water.
incredible.
It's like, geez, I was actually supposed to have a call with Dr. Lee Lorenzen, who
Mm,
developed a bunch of technologies around water and transporting nutrients in a high level and
mhm,
H3O2 structuring. It's like I've spent a lot of time with Dr. Gerald Pollack, who discovered easy water. And it's like, it is like, it's so fascinating.
it is.
But and so yeah, we got to drink good clean water, but
Mm,
what we keep doing is putting it in things where it's now influenced. The thing about water, it's influenced by whatever's around it. So that's why it chelates,
yeah.
phthalates and chemicals from plastic in it.
Yeah, it's just why we got to take care of it, man. It's such a limited and finite. We don't think it's a finite resource, but if you travel the world like you and I have, you realize how finite it is and how scarce it can be. We got to take care of it, and we got to do our best to do it. I'm fascinated by it as well. I mean, we're made up of water. We're predominantly water. Our planet's predominantly water. Maybe there's, a coincidence there. I don't know. We're all connected. We're interdependent, right? Coming
Yeah,
full circle. We're
exactly.
interdependent. Yeah,
Well, I think there's going to be some stuff you and I will eventually be doing together. There's some
I agree.
technology I was sharing with the Jason and his team, and
Yeah,
some really cool things in the pipeline. And it's all much bigger than us,
it
but we're
is.
doing it.
It is. Yeah, we're just scratching the surface, Darren. Yeah, it's a pleasure to connect, man. I think that there's a lot of work we can do together, and I look forward to those opportunities for sure.
Yeah, sounds good, brother. Thanks for
Yeah,
coming
man.
on, and thanks for the mission,
Of
and thanks
course.
for the service on your next mission
Hmm.
for the betterment of humans and the betterment of the planet.
Of
Grateful, man.
course. Well, thank you for the work you do, Darren. I really appreciate it as well. Tremendous, and congrats on all you're accomplishing. So thanks.